council meeting of the village of Armada will now come to order, please. Everyone stand for the pledge of allegiance to the flag, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, kindly. Call roll, please.
Shaw?
Here.
Clark?
Here.
Conan?
Here.
Bullock? Here. Belkey?
I am here.
Sluds?
Here.
Bullock is, or I'm sorry, Ballard is absent.
Ballard is absent, yes. He's due to health reasons. Approval of the agenda. What's the council's wishes, please?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Clark and Shaw. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. At this time, the floor is open up to citizen comments. You want to state your name, and you have 3 minutes to address the council, please.
Go ahead. Okay. Hi, everybody. Steve Nicola.
Hello, Steve.
How are you, Mark?
Good.
Good. I'll try to be really quick. A couple things. First, I'd like to thank Dave and the DPW. That last rain we had super water coming down the street, flooded the street all over. Those guys got out there and worked really hard. We appreciate it. Be nice if we had better storm sewers, but they can't fix that. So the other thing I want to talk about again is the water issues. And I know Ross had a meeting. I was not able to make it. I appreciate you doing that. But again, I'm hoping that we're going to address the water. And then the other reason that I'm here is the street issue. Our streets over there are in terrible, terrible condition. And we talked about this before, and I don't know, is there a plan to fix them or not? That's my question. And if there is a plan, when is the plan going to be instituted? If there isn't a plan, why isn't there? I mean, we fixed North Avenue. You know, you put all that stone and gravel along there. We had money for that, but we don't have money for taking care of what's already in place that's in worse condition. So that's why I'm asking that question. And I've got a third thing to ask, but if you want to talk about that first, whatever you want me to do.
Go ahead with it.
Okay. My third thing that I want to ask is the parking lot that Lance and I share and that everyone else in the world, you know, uses to go back to DPW. I guess we'd appreciate maybe a little consideration from the village in terms of maybe some upkeep in the lot. We're the ones that are constantly taking care of everything over there. You know, we grade it, we clean it, we bring stone in, and everyone else uses it. And the village uses it on a regular basis. So I guess we're just asking, you know, maybe for some funds to go towards chloride. You know, we do that a couple times a year. I just think it would be, you know, a good neighborly thing to do, seeing as how you guys are using that property to get back to your area. Now, not only does that happen, but I mean, when you had the work going on with the roads, the trucks were going in and out of there. It's not like you guys don't use that avenue to get in and out of there. So it creates a ton of dust for us. It's a lot of traffic in and out for us. It's a lot of liability that goes on for us in there. I'm just asking you to share in some of our costs. That's all.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
For one thing is that Dave has talked to all of us about it, I believe, and that he wants to clean that up back there. And the thing is, there's a lot of vehicles apparently was parked there. I don't know if any of them been moved, but that has been also given to the code enforcer.
Oh, okay. Well,
Mark,
Yeah.
that's actually a different piece of the property
right.
on those pieces that are in there. In front of Steve is a forever easement.
Yeah.
It's deeded to the village. So we should be
Contributing.
contributing to the maintenance
Oh,
of that
yes.
piece.
I mean, it would just be helpful.
No, we
I mean,
want to be good neighbors.
Yeah.
That's what I
Steve, you're
figured.
right.
I know you're a good neighbor, but
Yeah, no, we want to be good
We
neighbors.
just weren't aware of it until.
Like I said, I want to start, Dave starting to plan. He's been planning on it,
okay.
and yes, he wants to do it, and we want him to do it naturally, you know, so. But he did tell us that he has some plans, and to get all you know, these vehicles off whose ever property.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but,
So how do I go about sharing some costs with you? What's the procedure and process?
well, I think the best thing to do is to let him go ahead and see what we get involved with.
Okay.
And then we can call or send a statement or something to the fact, you know, so verbally or whatever.
Well, like I said, I mean, it's all we're looking for is a little help with some of the stuff that we keep putting down. I mean, we keep bringing limestone in to fill the stuff in. And then we chloride the thing a couple times a year. I think the chloride runs us $1,200 an application over there. So I'm not asking you to pay for it all unless you want to.
Nice try, Steve.
Well,
I mean, that'd be a heck of a neighbor.
you, yeah, so, anything you want to add?
No, it's good, I'll follow up with those guys on that.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
Ross, you want to start the first two questions, and then I'll finish up.
Yeah, good question, Steve. I want to talk about the water. Well, first of all, it's good that you gave some compliments to the DPW. They don't get enough love, and so they are working pretty hard, so we appreciate the
Yeah,
comment.
they are hard workers.
Yeah, with respect to infrastructure, we recently had our second infrastructure committee meeting. We're doing this with F&V Engineering. Over the next year and a half, we're trying to assess the conditions of all of the streets, all of the underground infrastructure, the water lines, the sewer lines, the storm sewers, try to find out where the worst of the worst is. Your neck of the woods is probably one of those.
I can, you know,
I know you can.
Anybody can
Well,
attest to that.
And our maps indicate it.
Yeah.
So, but we're in the process of doing that. We've got a couple quotes coming in to do some street borings and to do some geolocation of different infrastructure, which sets us up for 2024. Now, I can't promise that that's when anything is going to happen, but 2024 seems to be our first best opportunity to do some infrastructure work. And it would be likely based upon a bond action to do some of the worst areas in the village, if the council wants to go forward with that. And then that would fix bad streets, bad water lines, bad
Right.
sewer, bad storm sewer, curb and gutter, and so on.
I guess the one thing that I just want to point out, and Joe had mentioned it before, because I had presented the question why we can't have a separate water meter to meter water that we're watering our lawns. I mean, I just got a $1,600 water bill, $943 of it was for the sewer, not a drop of the water went in the sewer. Again, she had mentioned that it had something to do with a bond issue, the way it was written. I just hope that next time we write a bond issue, that we don't write that we allow the residents, what I'm asking for is that the resident would pay for the meter. It would be a second meter in the house, it would be read, and that water going through that, going to the sprinkler, would be deducted from the water that you're using. It's a real simple operation, and whoever wants to use it has to pay for it. But it's,
We don't set up the conditions of the bond. That goes through our financial advisors when the bond is in inception.
yeah, but I mean, why are we writing something into a bond issue that precludes us from doing something like that?
We're not, the bond council themselves do that. And they do it to ensure that there's enough money coming in to pay that bond within a 20-year
Yeah.
bond.
That doesn't make any sense to me, but
I would, if they didn't, there wouldn't be enough money to pay that bond off in 20 years.
so what we're doing is we're penalizing anybody who uses more water than what, I mean,
And the health department, years ago, Terry Rooney checked into it, and there was restrictions on things like additional wells or additional meters.
Joe, it's not the health department. We have a water shortage in the village in terms of capacity. And to allow people to, because they get a cheaper price, Mr. Nick, they'll just water the heck out of their lawns because I'm getting a better deal. That's just going to deplete the water even more. I doubt the state, I mean, it's hard for us to even get somebody interested in development because we don't have the capacity. So anything that causes more stress on our water capacity is gonna affect the village.
And that's
Okay,
gonna
I was not
help
aware of
too,
that.
because the
Yeah, I
aquifers
mean,
were
I brought it up when we first moved into Fritz Phase 3,
Yeah,
and they shut me down.
yeah, it's just, it's difficult, because, you know, I'm not an expert on it, so, but the aquifer is just not that, doesn't have the capacity. That robust, and we were told, now this is probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago, that if, you know, if you want future development of any size, to your point, Mike, you know, you're gonna have to prove that you're capable of providing public water.
Okay.
So that's the real challenge.
And that challenge is more than reasonable. I can accept that challenge. I can't accept a challenge that says that a bond issue says you can't sell the water, you can't. That doesn't make sense to me, so.
Well, I'm gonna make you more upset and tell you that over the past 4 years, water and sewer rates have gone up principally by consumer price index. And that's also a function of the bonds. They wanna make sure that you're drawing enough money from the local population to pay them back. So it just adds insult to injury a little bit.
Sure.
We've not really raised for anything else, improvements or anything. It's just price of inflation. So that hurts. But to get back to this, we are actively working on trying by 2024 to be ready to do something. What that something is has yet to be determined, and then it's got to be a decision of council if they want to take out a long-term bond to fix a lot of the local streets and the infrastructure. But we'll at least be ready to do something in 2024.
I just want to make sure we're moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah, it, slowly, we've got a bond that's gonna go off, be done with. And then we're trying to get our ducks in a row to do the next step. And we don't wanna bond ourselves right out of existence. You see what you can spend and maybe back off a little bit, because you know something's gonna happen 4 or 5 years down the road after you've already done this, and you don't wanna use up all your money, so.
Okay.
Yeah, good questions.
I think.
Do you have any?
No, it's like, nope, boss had it there, and again, whatever we do, it's because of that area is going to be water, sewer, and street all together. We wouldn't do one and then tear it out to do the other, so. We're contemplating it once we're ready for it, though, is then, as they dig it out, then go temporary with the gravel until everything else is done, then come in with the final, but we'll see how that one plays out.
The key really is knowing where it is and what it is and how bad it is. And one of the things we did with the intern when she was here is we went through all of the blueprints that we had that we could find in the village, and we're just missing a lot of the information on the old sections of the village. I don't know if that was the stuff that got burned up in the building 20, 30 years ago, or...
That wasn't working for that. It was in the 80s.
I didn't live here
It
either,
was in
right?
the 80s, so
Okay.
it wasn't,
Yeah, I'm not finding a lot of stuff on Armada Meadows 2 and 3 and Maine and Fulton and Fair Acres and places like that, but not a lot of good updated information on the old sections of the village, which is where we're hurting and why we're looking at these potential engineering efforts to get us that information.
Okay.
Almost up.
All right. Jason Scott, 73512 Fulton Street. I'm requesting a temporary fix to lay through. To be cleaned by a street sweeper, major potholes filled, and the surface scaped to the 3 drains to alleviate the flooding that comes with the fall rains and the winter snow melt. The surface is dangerous with the amount of gravel on the road. The lack of drainage is seriously affecting the properties on the section of the street from Fulton to Church. Each time it rains or when the snow melts, my driveway is flooded 15 feet in from the road, anywhere from 3 to 6 inches deep. The front of my property continues to suffer from subsidence, resulting in a 10-foot wide depression, 1 foot deep, about 5 to 10 feet from the stop sign on Fulton Street. The continued flooding is a result, unfortunately, of decades of neglect. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not,
You want me to add to that? 'Cause I did try to.
If you'd like to.
So, and as council knows, and Jeff, as we started this months ago, we broke this into 2 phases. There's a regrading and research of the properties, adding a number of new sewer connections in that, and then replacing the road. The road replacement is also, and us doing some of this other work up front, is also helps us get a better shot at getting the grant money. We applied for the grant for this, which is a matching, so 50%, so which is nice. We figure right now, as Jeff and council knows, so the initial surveying has been completed. The engineered solutions have been developed and then validated and ran up through the county and state. The bid packages and specs are being put together now. I expect in the next few, that we have those out, and then we'll go through the first round of all of the preparation, which I would see is probably be in a 23 timeframe because we're going to be on a construction season. And then the road would probably be 24 then. Our fiscal year.
What roads are you talking about?
This is just Lathrop at this point in time. So we also had First is in there as well. Mr. Nichols made a comment. So some of the thing is where these buckets of money come from. Major streets have a different source of funding than the local streets do, and we don't get to do one or the other. And then plus some of them are on projects that were already, there's Act 51 projects and things that we already were taking on. The maintenance and other things for, like sidewalks and some other that had been done previously. Local streets, we tried. Joe, worked with us diligently trying to figure out how fast we can do with what money before we have, our fund balances are too low. To where, so from an auditing perspective, the accounts, we just don't have enough money in those accounts to keep them solvent. So we did take on the fact as yourself and another neighbor on the other corner.
Ross, not that Ross.
No, not that. I forgot you know the original owner's property, but yeah, on the corner of Floral and Lathrop was here with you.
Yes, Ross, I forget his last name.
Okay. Anyway, so we looked at that in terms of there is some ongoing stuff for patching, but really there is a lot of work to do on that road, and just like a number of the other ones, the right of way is too small, so we actually need to get the roadway bigger, and then there's a lot of landscaping to get the proper drainage to the existing as well as new sewers that we're going to have to put in. So there is it's a nice plan. We actually walked the sites and that with the engineers, and but we'll get with Dave on top of, and I pass by twice a day, every day, and so I know what you're going through to some extent here. I just finished my basement flooded again, so so I know what it's like.
Well, I haven't had any flood in the basement.
Well, but it's
I know
just
that the
water
yard is
water
sinking.
anywhere, is tough. So. And you're right, that was an aha moment for me in particular when I was taking over for the streets, is that its drainage is our biggest culprit for just about everything. If we've done it, that's where all that shoulder erosion is coming from and whatnot, and it's just because we're just not getting the water where it needs to go. And of course, it's going to follow the path of least resistance, right? So.
Yeah, it's going to sit, freeze, and crack.
Yep, so we're addressing it. I'll work with the DPW guys to see what else about sweeping and continue patching and whatnot. But in general, in terms of grades and moving water, that's a bigger issue.
I know.
And it's in our plan. Like I said, I expect to get big packages out here in the next probably few weeks. I would imagine I'll have it ready. Probably put it out there for a month, but by October, November is not the best time to start a construction.
Oh, I understand. I'm just, even if it's just swept. The
Yep,
gentleman lives
that's-
across the street from me, Justin, he's got 4 kids,
Yeah.
and people don't stop at the stop sign. They skip.
Yeah, you were saying that. That's too bad. So
Yeah.
that they do that. So.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
all set?
Good. Jeff, is that what we want? I mean, that's the
Yeah.
direction we were talking, right?
Yeah, I think it's in line with what we were trying to accomplish, and we appreciate, I think most importantly, we appreciate everybody's patience. It's very difficult, and although there's a lot of headlines of money and grants out there, it's very, as Ross knows, it's sometimes very hard to track that money down and get. So we appreciate your feedback, and I'm sure we'll have more communications for you shortly.
Okay, very good, thank you. Anyone else? That's it then?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we'll move on. There's no presentations tonight. We'll move to the administrative reports. Commissioners, liaison reports, and your code enforcement is in your packet. Planning commission meeting minutes. Police action report for July. Do you have, Mr. Valley?
Yeah, everybody has it. I put it all in the packet.
Oh, okay.
Yep, don't
So
worry.
everybody has it.
Everybody can read that.
We all can.
Yeah, well, he wanted me to read it. Okay. Update from the single waste haulers committee. Mr. Shaw, do you have something on that?
I was gonna let Jeff, I don't know what he's got.
Yeah, well, you want me to just handle it now?
Yeah.
So as everybody knows, Mike and I believe Joe has been involved, a couple other people I'm omitting, so I apologize, but.
Just Lyle.
Yeah, so we were participating in what I would call the due diligence that the township had initiated to try to develop an invitation to bid, which was originally, we thought was heading in the direction of a joint invitation to bid for a single waste hauler, both in the township as well as the village. Trustee Getzinger, about 10 days ago, sent out an email indicating that the township had decided to issue their invitation to bid solely for the township, which does make some sense. And I think they were probably a little bit anxious to get it out into the marketplace. So with them proceeding just for the township, the question obviously is, does the village wish to move forward and do the same? And just so everybody's aware, I think we have done this at least twice in the past where we went alone, and I think one was an RFP, I can't remember, but I think we've gone the RFP route, request for proposal route in the past. What we're looking for tonight with the township proceeding is maybe just some comments, or we can save it for another meeting, but just some direction for council, from council, on does it make sense to move forward? Are we prepared to do that? There's a couple of unknowns that I think create a little bit of a problem for the village moving forward, because I don't think we can definitively say what the impact of the township's action is going to have on, I don't want to use the word dump, I like transfer station better maybe, but we don't, I don't think we can, Mike, if we know, jump in, but I'm not sure we know exactly what the plan for that is. And I think for us to move forward without really being able to answer that question.
To interject, that is, there, at least from what I've gotten in the meetings, is that Gottsinger plans on eliminating that waste disposal area eventually.
Right. So I know that's of a concern. We talked a little bit at the council table about that, but until I think we know for certain, what they're going to do, because maybe they won't get good bid pricing and they won't close it, right? Because I don't think so. That's one kind of contingency or variable I don't know if we have an answer to. The other one, I think strategically, is it never hurts for us to see what the market pricing is, and we will know. And if I know the objective of this council was we want to provide a better service at a better cost, and if the numbers come in that we can't do that, then I don't want to waste your time and money going into the market. Obviously, you guys buy gas every couple of days, and energy is a big component of waste hauling. And right now, I can't tell you what the market will be, whether they'll build it in to their pricing, whether there's an escalator clause. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out. So I don't think it's something that's terribly hard for us to pick up and go forward with. But like I said, those are two issues for me that I think we need a little clarity and your comfort level as a council as to whether we want to move forward on our own. I think they interviewed two contractors, local contractors. So I think they did a nice job. They feel fairly confident that they have a good understanding. Although they were not interested in the full level of service that we were interested in. I think it helped me out, Mike. I think there was the curbside recycling,
Right.
something that we were interested in that they did not feel they wanted to proceed with. And I haven't seen their final bid specs in detail. I haven't reviewed them. I think Mr. Getzinger did send them out, but I don't think they were interested in that.
Right.
So I want to make sure you understand that is something that we thought we would want to provide because many of the residents currently have it. So
And the township didn't want waste, yard waste and sticks and branches.
Yeah, we were talking
Because they used
about
to go
that.
out backfield and burn them.
Yeah.
Right. Did I get that wrong, Joe? I mean, I don't want to misrepresent, but I
No,
don't
you're-
think they were interested in the recycling
No, they
per
weren't.
se.
You're right.
So there's little differences like that you know, obviously can affect pricing. So it might not be an apples to apples comparison, even if we look at it, but it would give us an opportunity to look at the pricing and see. Obviously, the more layers of service you add, the more costly it's going to be. So that's my initial thoughts on it, Mike. If you have anything to add, or Joe.
And given the density of the village compared to the
Right.
miles and driving time in the township, our rate will be significantly less than the
Right.
townships.
Right, and that was a selling point to the joint effort, although, like I said, I think they felt that combining them presented some difficulties for them and timing and things like that. So that's pretty much it. I don't know if we necessarily have to spend a lot of time talking about it tonight,
No,
but,
I think we should bring it back.
you know, those are the considerations that I think are the,
Is
Once
there
we
any
know
sense
more
of
from
a, of a timeline? Because I could envision the township just axing the transfer site, not really giving good notice on it.
No, they wouldn't do it, that, at least my understanding was, they wouldn't do it that way.
I don't know.
We can't speak on behalf of the town.
No, that's
Yeah.
true.
Nor should we
I'm
speculate.
just asking, is there a timeline? Do we have a
Yeah.
timeline for when they're
We do.
tentatively gonna make a decision? I mean, I'm assuming they would give us ample notice that at X date transfer site's gonna close.
Right.
What are they gonna do with the money that they use for that? Are they just gonna
They're gonna roll it back into the
They're
general.
reroute
roll
it
back
into
into the
something
general
else
fund.
It's going into
and
the general
not,
fund.
not reduce
Where
anybody's
it is
taxes?
now.
Right. Huh?
It's in the general fund now.
Yeah.
Well, you know, even actually, I've heard several times that the people take their plastics out and they recycle. You get out to the transfer site, goes all in one truck.
They've actually got two trucks. I mean, if
Yeah,
if you make an
Waste
attempt,
management does, I know
yeah,
for sure.
they,
They have two trucks.
There is a
They have two
truck that would
different
take the recycle.
They didn't use to.
Apparently, they didn't at first.
But they.
I don't use it myself, so I don't know. But what I hear, street talk, in other words, you know, that they just dump it anyhow, you know, so. Then why would we worry about it for our village residents? If that's the case, put it all in a dump, and if they want to, let them separate themselves. Our cost would be cheaper then.
Well, we'd have to look into it.
yeah. I
Yeah,
just,
okay, good.
it's gonna force our hand if they close the transfer site, then, because people are gonna have to go get a contract with somebody.
Right.
Yep.
And again, what we were trying to do, part of what we were trying to do is get a single guy, single truck, come in 1 or 2 days a week instead of every day of the week.
Right.
And
Right, that's our
so
intention.
I think just knowing the timeline is important to us because we're gonna have to
They don't have,
react, not be proactive in this case.
They don't
Now,
have
You wanna be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you said.
Or we could be reactive in
Well,
I'd prefer not to be reactive.
that.
okay.
All right, so we can move on to the general business. Consent agenda?
Consent
No,
agenda.
yeah. I've got some items to report, Mr. President.
Okay,
Under Water Commissioner. So obviously, Audriana's not here today. That's because her last day was last Friday. She completed what I thought was a very successful summer internship program with the village. And she's out now doing something with PAL before she goes back to school. I think we got a lot out of that relationship that we had with her and Fort County and Michigan STEM, and I'd like to see another one of these things in the future. if council so decides. One of the last things that we did while Adriana was here is we had Eagle, the Warren District Office, point of contact that I usually deal with, as well as some of the other representatives out of the office, come to the village. They toured the water facilities, and we discussed the current state of our waterworks, what we're trying to do to improve things. We discussed the infrastructure activities, Steve, that we're engaged in, our various plans for the future. So we got kudos from those guys. Most communities don't invite them out. They don't want them anywhere close. I, on the other hand, think it's good to have a partnership relationship, and they were very happy with the visit, and were pleased with what they saw. As we explained to them, our facilities are in really good shape, all things considered. Our infrastructure, underground infrastructure in some parts of the village, not so great. So they're aware of that, and got an ongoing discussion with them about how they can help us. We did send out violation notices for 2 businesses that are not in compliance with the village's cross-connection ordinance, so I'll be following up on those later this month. I do have another company giving us an estimate on the cost to connect the water tower with the Township Fire Department's generator and panel. Particularly like these guys, I don't have a price yet, but I like these guys because they said, we're going to do it in such a way that you take the electric meters off of the water tower, so we're not paying an administrative cost. And if you recall, the township has volunteered to pay the electrical charge, but we still have an administrative charge to have those meters. We get rid of the meters too. And they said that if we wanted the DPW to trench the hole for the cabling, they would take that off the bill. Sounds good to me. It's a good way to save money and get this done. So, looking forward to that quote coming in. We talked a couple minutes ago about current infrastructure committee activities. Steve and Chris just recommend that we get together to go over the map sometime, or maybe the next 2 weeks. I'd recommend the 19th of August if you guys think you can do that. And I'll have Dave Wagner here too, because he's got a piece in this. And then with the approval of the general business consent agenda tonight, we will pay the first of the 3 installments for the media. We did sign a what do I call it? Just a promise to pay. This is at
Purchase order? I don't see no promissory note.
no, it's not a promissory note. It's I'm going to try to remember it, and I'm not going to think about it. It'll come later. Anyway, an agreement that simply says that we will, at no interest charge, we will pay the $320,100 over a period of 10 months, 3 payments, the first one going out tomorrow. The media will show up end of August, first part of September. So we'll get the plant completely changed with the media. At a cost that's $40,000 less than the first 2, with no interest charges over 10 months. That's a damn good, and that's a technical term, it's a damn good deal for us. And I appreciate council going forward with that. So, okay, that's all I have.
Thank you.
We also have, in here, we have a letter from the treasurer. She is going to complete her term. So she will be here until November 19th.
No,
She's been trying to go.
It's hard, isn't it?
yeah. Well, now with the election, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do it,
Yeah.
Ready to read?
Go ahead.
Good plan.
Steve, start that, get that going.
We're in an election, not a write-in.
No one else on there?
Nope.
That will be awkward.
All right, let's go to general business then. Consent agenda, approval of the regular council meeting minutes of July 25th. Payment of bills, what's council's wishes?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Support.
moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We
State,
abstain from minutes.
yes, statement.
Yes.
Okay.
Old business and finance store, Mr. Clark, your department, please.
Yep, the grass is doing quite well now, finally, down there at the plant. We did have very high flows this last Thursday. We managed to keep things under control. Still working on it though. We did cut down a couple of trees that were on our property that were overhanging Larry's Automotive, and some branches had already dropped and some vehicles back there, so West Pardon's tree service came out and took care of those trees for us. They're already gone. And the only other thing I want to add is, I haven't talked about it lately, but please do not flush the disposable wipes down the sewers, down the toilet, because it ends up getting into pumps and clogging up the sewer lines, so it costs you money in the long run. So please just throw them in the trash. Thank you.
Can I move to new business?
Yeah.
Council approval for business grant material.
I think everything's pretty self-explanatory in the packet, what Ross would like to do. I don't know if we want to have any discussion on it. Wants to put a ramp in there, a concrete ramp as opposed to the wood ramp that he had that was destroyed by the tornado. Well, that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, this can get complicated quick.
That'll be close to the building, right?
What's that?
It's close to the building.
Yeah. We've got some pictures there. You'll see it's a double wide sidewalk, and half of that sidewalk is heavily encumbered with stuff in the way. There's at least 5 things that belong to my building that are not, I guess, village sidewalk. And I've got some previous agreements, one which is filed at the county that signed by Sherry Cooper and myself back in 2013 that gave permission to do this stuff. The issue at hand is a special approval land use, wanted it to be removable as a consequence of the special approval. I would like to, now that I've had to take it apart to repair the storm damage to my building, I have to put something back up there. I need an ADA entranceway and I don't have one. I would prefer to put concrete there to code, my cost, and I maintain it into perpetuity or whatever. So,
If you look on the last page there, Margaret, it says north to south view of what a replacement ramp would look like along the building. That gives you a pretty good
Right.
example of how it would look.
It would-
No, that's
Something like this, but it would be concrete.
it would not be nearly as big as this.
That wouldn't be,
A concrete ramp would be much more eloquent
smaller,
with,
you know.
Well,
it did the work, but it was really pretty hideous. This is all freestanding, plumbing level, and I had to make a special threshold to deal with the fact that the sidewalk slabs are uneven. So it would just be much easier, more expensive for me, but much easier to put a ramp in the code.
Aesthetically, it's gonna look much better.
well, I'm kind of wondering on this. First of all, if we own that property and there's somebody gets hurt, can't we still be held liable?
Well,
I'm just wondering if we'd be better off just to give them the property.
well,
It's not property,
as Ross's
but-
pictures, I mean, this is pretty prevalent in the downtown area, so you're gonna be giving away more than this site. if you don't-
Lots of
So what we normally do, and Ross, correct me or Mike, I think we require Ross's company or whoever, owns title to that building to hold the village harmless. So in other words, there's a written agreement that says for anyone who is hurt because of this ramp, even though it's on our property, you must indemnify and hold the village harmless for any damages.
I'm good with that.
That was under the old SLU. I believe it would be under the amended new SALU. So actually, right now under Michigan law, sidewalks, and I'm not talking about ramps, but sidewalks themselves, you know, there's a lot more protections for municipalities. Now that can change the law. Oh, you know, judges can always reinterpret it, but right now we do have better protections against those types of claims. My only question would be on the ramp, Ross. Would there'll be railings, right, on that,
Yes.
on the one side? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Becky didn't. She had called me earlier when the planning commission was going to meet, and we talked over a little bit how to. You know, structure the SALU so that the SALU itself is only approved by the planning commission, so it doesn't come back to the village council. So this motion kind of gives the, you know, that it kind of implies that you guys are modifying that. So we got to kind of tweak that a little bit because that's up to them. And what I think, and Mike, I might need your help on this because, like I said, Becky didn't tell me exactly how the motion was made. But what the planning commission I thought was going to do was basically say, and to install a ramp as approved by the village council. I may be simplifying that a lot.
No, that's exactly
But,
right.
so what they were punting to you guys is it okay to build a concrete ramp? And so I just took the motion and I would like to, you know, somebody could make the motion. I would like to strike the words to modify the existing special approval land use, comma, giving them permission. If we strike that text, it will read, resolve to grant the request by the owners of We the People, a business located at 23010 Main Street, Armada, to install a permanent concrete. So you're a permanent, and then permanent concrete American Disabilities Act compliant ramp. And then I would add on village property adjacent to the business. The reason I wanted to add on property, just so the minutes are clear, that we know it's going on our property versus, you know. So I hope that makes sense. And Ross or Mike, if I'm,
Does to me.
screwing anything up, let me know.
No.
I think it's you explain it in layman's terms,
Okay.
which is better than trying to.
Yeah.
So in other words, this railing here, is that gonna be wood for sure?
What that does not show is I had a 2-inch round pipe handhold on top of that to be ADA compliant. So it was much more cumbersome and clumsy than it needed to be because it had to be out of wood and removable. I mean, that was completely freestanding, it wasn't attached to the building in any way.
I was just wondering,
It was just
for the top from
my
rail.
expert carpenter
Cell
skills,
phone.
but
Get
yes.
slivers from wood in their hand.
Yeah, no, I would really streamline it, it would be much more aesthetically pleasing, and it would be fully compliant with the ADA guidelines.
You said adjacent to what, Jim?
The build, or
Adjacent
This is the business.
On
To-
village property adjacent to the business,
To
which
the
we
business.
identify as
Adjacent.
230.
What I wrote did not make sense, so.
Okay.
Right. Okay. All right.
Good.
If there's no more discussion, then I'll bring about the proposal. Is everybody ready? Any more discussion? Okay. I motion that it be resolved to grant the request by owners of We the People, a business located at 23010 Main Street, Armada, giving them permission to install a permanent concrete American Disabilities Act compliant ramp on village property adjacent to businesses.
To the business.
To the business.
To the business.
So we're keeping the giving them permission
I
to?
was, we're removing that.
Take
Yeah.
that out.
I would take that out.
Take that out.
So you're just gonna say,
To install.
business located Armada,
To
to install a permanent
Permanent,
concrete
yes.
American
Yes.
Disabilities Act compliant ramp on village
Yes.
property adjacent to the business.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion?
Just to note that there was a public hearing and nobody came into it.
Right.
So,
And I just want to make sure, just so everybody's clear, Ross is doing this on your business dime, not the village. So we're just giving him permission
Right.
to put it on a property, but I just, in case anybody asks, I just want to make sure we make a
Yeah.
note of that.
That's important.
It is.
It is.
Absolutely.
Roll call?
You want a roll call?
Roll call.
You make that.
Not costing any money.
Oh,
Okay.
that's not,
But we're using,
we're using village property.
yeah.
Okay. Shaw,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes.
Wolock,
Yes.
Sleds,
Yes.
Delkey,
Abstain.
abstain.
Thank you.
Is it gonna be up tomorrow night?
Give you permission to spend money.
Okay.
Ross? Is it gonna be up tomorrow night?
No. No. It'll take a while, trust me. Probably be 3 times the expense that it would be 2 years ago.
Oh, I know, I won't worry about that. I'm sorry.
It's only money, right?
Yeah. Well, you know me a little bit. Okay. Estimate for professional remodeling insurance services for our building repairs. Michelle, did you?
Yeah, so, I know this is under my spending limit, but since I brought it up at a previous meeting, the building was hit. We could either run this through the insurance company, which then affects our mod rating, which then will at some point in the game most likely increase our insurance, or we can pay the $1,890. If we pay the $1,890, I am not opposed to going back on the company that did it and telling them to pay it.
Or their insurance, it's really.
Their insurance company,
Their
but
insurance company, because
I
it was
would-
an audit.
I would
so-
probably have to include Jeff in on that though,
Yeah,
just so we would know how to
I think we
go about it.
talked, Michelle, I think we did get a police report.
We do,
And we do have the insurance.
We do.
So we would have to put,
a letter together to send.
well, no, we can actually ask MMLs to maybe see if they would do it for us. But since they're not paying the claim, they may push back a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I mean, I can run it through the insurance
Yeah.
company. I mean, it's not a big deal,
Well,
but it's
I would,
$1,890.
before you make that decision, I would have that conversation with Meadowbrook.
Yep.
Because usually what Meadowbrook will do is they'll basically say, okay, we're gonna pay this claim, but then they go after the party that's actually at fault, which is the insurance company.
Right.
So, most auto policies in Michigan cover damage that occurs while you're in the vehicle, you run off the road, you hit a guardrail. That insurance company will cover damages to property that are, so we could get a recovery. I just, it might be easier to have
It's
MML do it.
actually gonna be less than $1,890 because that is also including the 36-inch steel bollard, which I did not know that was what that was called, at the corner of the garage to try to help maybe avoid this again in the future because it does happen a
Yeah, and
lot.
Becky is putting, just so you know, Becky is putting up a parking restriction. I think it's gonna be I wanna say no loading,
Yeah.
but she's ordered the signage.
Yeah, we do, well, the post office itself, they've done really good with their drivers, cause they back in.
Right.
It's the people that are dropping off for Amazon or Google or whoever you order your stuff from that are not familiar with that don't do it. And unfortunately, I think by the time they get in there with their larger box trucks, I mean, UPS does it every day. They're great, but it's a tight squeeze. And if you don't know what you're doing, I'm sure Kevin can, agree to that since you drive trucks, right?
No comment at this time.
Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, you're not, this can happen. So if I'm gonna run it through the insurance company, I have to ask Professional Remodeling to give me a cost for the building separate from the bollard because that is not something that the insurance company should pay for. But because it was such a small amount, I would have just approved it myself, but since we talked about it, I just brought it back to you for approval. So, I mean, we can make the motion just to get him started. We can decide afterwards what we're gonna do.
So we can make the motion now?
Yeah,
And
because I'd like to get him started,
Okay.
because, with all that rain, I'm sure that, messed up, downspout is not, going to be effective.
Functional.
Yeah, so,
All right, I'll make the motion that it be resolved to support the proposal from Professional Remodeling and Insurance Services for building repairs and installing a 36-inch steel bollard for a cost not to exceed $1,890.
Support.
Okay.
Steve.
Any Further discussion? If not. call
Schultz?
roll.
Yes.
Belkey?
Yes.
Sledge?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Conan?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes. Motion carried.
Any idea on when that might be done?
I told him I had to get the approval, so I'm hoping soon, but I don't know.
DPW employee hiring.
Yes. So we ended up with 4 candidates. The 5th application was pulled but not returned. Finally, Steve Lyle and myself last Thursday did our panel interviews with the candidates, and upon completing that, made a selection. Interview with DP, and we'd like to, we'd like council to approve the hiring, and God help me with his last name again. Van Rickenham. I was gonna get it right. Kurt Van Rickenham, at a wage of $19 per hour, pending his passing a physical exam and drug screen. That's the summary part.
Okay, that's a motion?
No, it's not the motion, yeah,
Gotta
no,
make the whole
that was
motion.
the summary, I'll make the motion.
Oh, okay,
If
all right,
there's anybody
all right.
had any questions or anything before I make the motion.
He's full-time, right?
Correct.
Well, we have to have some discussion then. So we need a motion.
Okay. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Village of Armada to extend an offer of employment to Kurt
Van Rickenham.
Van Rickenham at the base hourly rate of $19 per hour with overtime, comp time, clothing allowance, workers' comp, and liability insurance benefits comparable to those provided to current full-time DPW employees. Eligible for medical, dental, disability, and life insurance after 90 days of employment. Personal and sick time and holiday pay upon successful completion of the probationary period. The offer of employment is subject to Kurt passing background and medical examinations, and continued employment is contingent upon Kurt completing a 6-month probationary period, and
He doesn't need
he
that.
does not, he has his CDLB.
Oh, he does have.
Correct.
Probationary period, after which,
After which, yet an employment agreement may be offered.
and instead of Kurt, I'm gonna put Van Rickenham in there,
Sure.
because,
Okay.
Probably Mr. Baker.
no, we do last names and motions.
Is it? Well, thank you.
Is it?
I will support that.
I motion, yep.
Any further discussion? Joe, when we talked, we were talking about $18. Which we wrote.
I thought that was a general pay between the 18 and 19 when we first started looking for someone. I wasn't in the committee.
Okay. I mean, it's just about like $1, but what's $1 worth today?
$40 a week.
$40 a
Coffee.
It's up.
No, it's not even a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
No, $3.
depends on where you get your coffee.
That's true.
All right, so.
Ready? Yep, Sledge,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Belkey,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes.
Bullock.
And nay.
Okay.
Motion carried.
Michelle, how do we want to set this offer out?
Usually it's just a phone call,
Okay.
so maybe by you or
That's fine. I just
Dave.
wondering,
Remember?
what do we need in writing or whatnot?
No, we usually just call.
All right.
I would call the other applicants though too. and
I
let them know.
have that exact, yes, I told them we would once.
Yep.
These are we have, I just like to make a comment. These are we have some other applications. Just a question to council. Do you think you want to try to get a part-timer till winter arrives? These are, the committee has, already interviewed. If there's something close that they would want to use.
There might, it's so great question. I was actually gonna put that in for next year's budget. I need to bring, cause Ed had done it routinely of having a seasonal type laborer. And I think with a 3-man, especially with a lot of the tasks that perform, a 3-man crew really does help. Versus now, everyone's in the field and there's no one doing anything. I wasn't sure, I didn't think of putting it in this budget. Now, there may be one individual out of the 3, so one declined, he wanted a lot more money than that. And the other 2, I know one is working, one gentleman, these are all gainfully employed people, is working for the county, would not, I don't think would be interested in part-time work. The other one, there's a Rodney, for example, might be interested. We can find out certainly, but
Should check
I
with
mean,
Joe
it'll be-
Page.
I was gonna say, I don't know.
Be
about-
part-time?
To work next summer, you mean, or what do you?
Well, I think Marv is saying is I was thinking of it for next year, the
Well-
next fiscal year, but Marv is thinking of too, as we're coming into the
finish-
season now, we're,
Yeah, to finish and clean up, in other words, our summer and our early fall, because we have leaves,
Yeah.
and that would be help on the 3, so.
I'd be a part-time employee,
Right,
not
totally.
40 hours a week.
Could we afford it, Joe?
Right now, I can't tell you that. We still have to reassess the DPW's budget from previous expenditures that were over the budget. So I've got to
Well,
balance
let's
out amendments first.
sort of watch that,
Okay,
it's
yeah.
interesting.
I would just say that I would, if the money is there, I would support getting somebody. I put on Dave's shoulders now, hydrant flushing, valve exercising, he's got to get into the water treatment plant, the well houses
But
exercise.
you did take off his shoulders, bring it in,
A lot of water stuff.
Every week.
all that water
Definitely.
treatment.
Not, those guys have always been responsible to do the blue collar stuff. What F&V operations does is the white collar, the water sampling, managing the plant. They're the operator in charge. If something goes wrong, they shoot them first.
We
Then they
just add, but when we did that, I'm glad we did it. But when we did it, we added additional costs to our budget
Yes,
by
we did.
bringing F&B in there
Yep.
and taking that off of the DPW. Now, to add another man in there,
Well, I'm
What's the
just saying,
savings?
these are additional tasks that the DPW should always have been doing and has not done consistently over a long period of time. It will cost us now or it will cost us later.
I'm
You're
not
right, President.
disagreeing with you.
no, but you,
I'm
how to
just
go about
saying
it is
this,
correct.
Yeah.
you only got so much to work with, and you gotta work with that. If you gotta kick the can down the road,
I got you.
sometimes you have to.
They
Yeah.
need time
Because
management.
all the other stuff was done by Ed too.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ed did some of it. Again, Ed would say he put 20 hours a week into water. He did. I don't know what Dave and the other people, so that was Ed's time. Even then, they didn't do a whole lot of valve exercising or
Yet they,
so on.
yet they survived for a very, very, very long period of
Well,
time.
Number of years.
I got it, but if you do not pay attention to maintenance, it's gonna cost you a lot more when it breaks.
Oh, I don't know that you're saying don't pay attention, what needs
Yeah,
to be
nobody-
done.
No,
I think
no,
it just,
and I
it's
wanna
just, I
do
think
it-
Nobody's saying
time,
that.
Yeah.
time management needs to be looked at a
And
little harder.
well, sure, and I'm squeezing Dave to do it. He's gotta fit it in.
Maybe you're
It does.
squeezing
If you
Dave
get-
too much.
Have you given them a schedule? I mean, when with these,
Yeah, I have, he
the
does have,
frequency and when these.
he does have a schedule. He does
Yeah,
have a
that's
schedule.
okay,
But I would submit to you, some of that stuff's more important than cutting grass.
Yeah.
Your water system fails and people are on bottled water,
Well,
I don't wanna
the
be
grass can
responsible.
wait a day or two, I agree with you.
Yeah, I wanna do it in a fiscally
Where did that
sound
come
way.
from, Ross? Nobody said anything about grass. I mean, where
I'm
did
just
that
saying-
come from? Why are you saying that?
Because we brought before council 6 months ago, the fact that there are things that F&V doesn't touch and that Dave doesn't touch. Who's touching it? Me. That's my 5 to 20 hours a week where I'm getting no compensation for it, nor am I asking for any, but I'm doing that as a water commissioner. Free labor, right, to
Right.
keep things going. I'm just saying, if we have an opportunity to get a part-timer in, whether now or next year, those are some of the things that he should or she should be able to do for us. Is-
Nobody said we're not to have a part-timer.
Right, and
Well, no,
I wanna do it in
that's why I
a,
think, like, right
Well,
now,
it's what's-
I think you're agreeing with me. You know,
yeah, we're in violent agreement.
because of the fall, it's.
Violent agreement with that?
I think we're all saying the same thing.
Yes.
I'm not
It's
saying.
a matter of
That's-
whether,
that's the
whether
main
it's,
thing.
Michelle, it's whether it's Dave and the team taking on and actually fitting it all in, or.
Well, maybe
it's
you don't
additional.
sweep the streets
So-
weekly. Maybe you know, there's time
Well, so you can
management
say-
maybe that
that's
needs to be
exactly-
looked
you
at.
said that
That's
and
my
it's-
point.
He's just got some additional things now that he should always have been looking at but couldn't get to, or the DPW in general, not Dave, but that they should have always looked at. And now I've kind of said, here, you got to do this stuff too.
Well, naturally, we use Lowell man now for a month, you know, so, I mean, it's added pressure, you know, so. The
Yeah.
thing is, we're
No,
looking at
I
it,
think
I'm
they will
looking at
ri-
it to make it easier.
Yeah,
That's the whole
Yeah.
common thing.
I think they'll
So,
rise to the occasion.
we've talked about this for probably 4 or 5 years already,
Yeah.
you know, that I've requested and others have too, you know, a part-timer.
I think-
And now that we got a short time and we just reviewed some, if there's one in here, you know,
Yeah, no,
could we
it's-
use them?
it's a
As
great
long as the
idea.
budget
If the
can
money's
support it.
available,
Yeah,
I think it's a great
the
idea.
committee knows, you know,
Yeah.
so I would agree with the committee on it then.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is.
That's violent agreement. So
I
I
don't
think
have
we're
a
all
problem.
good with
Yeah.
it. It's just-
Yeah, I don't violently agree, but I agree that.
Not a violent man, Dave.
All right, so did Dave respond to your request? Ross, for these additional tasks?
Oh, he's acknowledged that he needs to.
We should,
No.
yeah, this-
Okay,
The
I
trick
guess
is
that's-
getting enough tempo so he knows when to do it. how to do
Okay.
it.
No. So I guess that,
So then we'll talk then.
I just want to touch on it, that's all.
It's fine.
We can't make a item out of it. Right now, unless we bring it back next month. Or next meeting, pardon me.
Next, yeah, yeah.
What is it, tomorrow?
25th.
22nd.
25th. 14/22, yeah.
You want to think about it for the 22nd?
Sure.
Because like I said, you still get September and October, and when November and the snow starts flying, you know, maybe there could be.
Well, the fall's a busy time with that leaf pickup.
Yeah,
I'm sure Joe will have a better answer at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make it before.
Joe,
Because that's the next.
chance to look at
What
it.
are we gonna do?
We're not going to delete Joe, you know that. No, I'm not. We love you.
To death.
You've been here a long time and I don't want you to quit. Okay, let's see what we got here. Up and coming agenda item,
Part-time laboring.
okay. And then citizen comments. Anyone in the audience?
Mr. Brett, I just, I'm gonna try to bring back the trail issue. If I get something, I'll send it to Jeff in advance, or Jeff can take a peek at it. Trail connection.
Yeah.
Trail connection.
And I'm trying to get this quote for the water tower or the fire department general. So
Okay.
hopefully I can bring those back.
Any council comments?
Concert in the parks, this is the last one this Wednesday. So if you haven't been able to enjoy it, come out and see the Soggy Bottom folks. We had to cancel last week's, right, it just thunder and lightning, the group was there, they were literally there, and I had to cancel it. So we did pay them, it's on the record.
It'd be very nice to see the whole council there.
You guys have missed out that haven't been there. There's been some pretty
It's
awesome
an
entertainment.
awesome
Yes, there
thing we
has.
do. Yep.
All right, so community events, any? And our Glorious Fair is coming up the 15th of August.
14th is the parade.
Parade.
Parade, yeah, 14th is the parade, and
At
then
1 o'clock.
you'll end at the 21st.
1 or 1:30?
It's-
I
Well,
think those signs say 1:30, don't
yeah,
they?
but I always put everything in ahead of time. That way I'm not late.
Where's the fair parade?
Hmm?
Is it on Main Street?
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit reverse of what the Christmas parade does. They're gonna come out of the back of the fairgrounds, up Center, down Fulton.
Oh, it's coming completely
The
opposite.
It's
I'm
coming
okay.
down to
Yeah.
Fulton, to Main Street, to Spencer, and back up. Right now, we've got about 84 entries,
Do they really? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
about 84 right now.
Excellent.
Be big floats too?
Yeah, there's combine in there.
Oh, that's
Oh,
awesome.
well, combine, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so, a lot of classic cars, a lot of tractors,
Good.
Good.
not a whole lot of information on the apps. It's hard to set it up.
Very good, thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment, please.
Also move.
What time?
8:08.
Support.
Bud Duffy, support.
Dave and I agree.
Any further discussion?
Violet.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.